everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another Sims 4 Create a Sim video. So this is the next part of my Fill the World Create a Sim challenge that I created. So currently we are making a family for the house called Raffia Quinta, which is in Oasis Springs. It's in the Parched Prospect neighborhood, which is like the middle class neighborhood, I guess you could say. So this is a house that it's actually the smallest house in that neighborhood, and it's only 39,000 simoleons. But so we have a family of 2 Sims, and they are brothers, which I've never actually done that before. There was another family that was 2 siblings, but it was a guy and a girl. So this is 2 boys. So this is the Romilly family. First up we have Eric, who is a young adult, and then his brother Joel is a teenager and he lives with him. So the story is that Eric and Joel's parents had them while they were kind of later in life, and so as a result they've both passed away before Joel has become a young adult. He's still a teenager, so his older brother Eric has basically gotten custody of him, although he doesn't really do much parenting with Joel. He just sort of lets him live there and, kind of do his own thing. So Eric is kind of an interesting guy. So he is in the critic career. He's at the very bottom of the food critic. The reason why he's not doing so great, it's not that he's doing bad in his career, but he's pretty low, because he actually has no cooking skill whatsoever, and yet he is a food critic. So he doesn't really have any cooking talent or ability, but he does have a lot of opinions. So he has a lot of charisma. He's a very charismatic and outgoing type of guy. He likes to throw a lot of parties. He actually has the party animal aspiration. So he has 7 charisma skill points, not 70, 2 comedy skill points, 4 dancing skill points, 5 mixology skill points, and 4 writing skill points. So basically all of his skills are good for parties. He's a charismatic, kind of funny guy. He likes to dance, likes to mix a few drinks, relax with his friends, hang out, just sort of have a good time. He does have some writing skill, but he's not really much of a career-focused person. He's just, he's very opinionated, and he just wants to have a good time. And he's a young adult, so he gets to do basically what he wants, with, of course, the exception of having to take care of his brother Joel. And in all honesty, the house that they live in is a little bit out of their budget. 39,000 simoleons isn't much. It's not only the smallest house in this neighborhood, it's also the least expensive. But for them, it's a little bit much, because he's not very far along in his career, and Joel is a high school student, so there's only really so much he can do. He does have a part-time job working at fast food, but that's not much. It's a little bit of money to help contribute towards paying the bills, but it's also not really Joel's job necessarily yet. He is still a minor, so he's still in high school, so it's not really his job. But Eric also doesn't really seem super concerned about making sure that they have enough money to pay for their bills, because he's just kind of focused on having a good time and throwing parties. So their house is interesting because they have a pretty small little kitchen. I think it's a 3x3 room or something. And it's like a U. So you walk in and it's counter, sink, stove, fridge, boom, that's it. So it's a pretty cramped little kitchen, but that doesn't really matter to Eric because he literally never uses it, even though he is a food critic. So, you would think that he would have some ability there, but as of yet hasn't been developed. So he might not get too far in that career. But the house itself is very, very modern and contemporary looking. There are these 2 red armchairs in the living room. They don't have a couch, which I thought that was a little strange. But so the armchairs they're well maintained. They don't look like shabby or anything, but they're also not quite as modern as most of the other furnishings in the house are. So I was sort of thinking that maybe those chairs were something that he had inherited from his parents after they had passed away, and that was really more their taste. But so they have a dining room area. They have a really nice outdoor patio with like a beautiful like fenced in area that sort of overlooks like the mountains, I guess, that's in their backyard. And they have a grill out there and a table and a bench and like, you know, there's like, it's a good party house. Let's put it that way. And you know, honestly, like for these two, as long as they can afford to keep the house, I think that this is going to be a good place for them. So their bedrooms are kind of separated. They're like on opposite ends of the house. They each have their own bathroom, which is really nice for considering this is a 2-bedroom house. To also have 2 full bathrooms is pretty impressive. But yeah, so the other interesting thing is with Joel. So Joel, his bedroom is very musically decorated. So like he has the bed that has the guitar bedspread on it, and he has a picture of the saxophone guy playing the saxophone hanging on his walls. So I sort of thought that Joel is a little bit like his big brother in that he desperately wants to be a famous musician. So he has a little bit more ambition actually than his older brother does, but he has no musical talent or abilities at all. So not great. He just really likes the idea of being famous and being successful, but he has no idea how to get there. So they are very similar in that way. I mean, when I was picking out like what I wanted Eric to look like, I made him a little bit, he's like a preppy hipster is what I would describe him as. Like he's also very into his outward appearance. He's a snob, so he has like very high standards for himself in particular, but also kind of, you know, like the impression that he gives to other people and the people in his lives. Like, so I could see how his younger brother would see how his brother is behaving, meaning Eric, and think like, well, hey, like I should be like a famous musician or a celebrity, and I have no idea how to get there, but like that will also then make me seem like a valued person. And it's not, I mean, like Eric isn't a terrible person or anything like that. He just, you know, he's just a little misguided. And I also sort of figure that because both of their parents were kind of older when they had them, that, you know, maybe they weren't always super involved in their lives. I mean, okay, so Joel is a young teenager and his parents have already passed away. So that means that when he was a child, they were already elders. And, you know, I mean, like, at that point in life, a lot of times people are like, well, I just want to be a grandparent, you know, like where I can just not have to do a lot of rules or disciplining or teaching to children. I just want to like hang out and, you know, go to the park and go out to eat. And so, you know, I think they might not have had, it wasn't that it was a bad upbringing. It was just maybe something that wasn't the most helpful in preparing them for their lives later on down the road. So the other thing, so with Joel, his style is also kind of interesting. He's trying to be rebellious in a little bit of a way, but at the same time, he's also really desperately wanting to be taken seriously. So he dresses a lot in black, but he also has like gauges in his ears. I think in his formal outfit, I swapped out the earrings that looked like gauges and put in like the little sparkly stud earrings instead. So I think he sees like these famous rock star celebrity types and he's like, oh, well, that's what they're doing, so I'm just going to copy that. And, you know, I mean, like, that's a very typical teenage thing to do. Like, I remember being a teenager and seeing, like, what Britney Spears was wearing and being like, oh, well, she's wearing that. I should try to imitate that. And it worked out really well for me because I wore a Catholic girl's uniform that looked very similar to the one in her, what was it, Hit Me Baby One More Time video? Yeah, so, side note there. But yeah, so Joel is, you know, he's in some ways, he's still kind of a kid, but in other ways, he's also trying to be an adult. And he's neither. He's a teenager, but he just doesn't really know how to be a teenager. You know, I mean, so, like, he's present for all of his brother Eric's parties and get-togethers, and that also sort of makes it difficult for him to do well in school. Because, you know, if you have a party going on right outside of your bedroom window, how easy is it going to be for you to study? Like, no, it's not going to happen. Plus, he also has a part-time job working in some fast food restaurant, so that takes up more time from him. And so, yeah, so he only has 2 charisma skill points, 2 handiness skill points, and 2 mischief skill points. So none of his skills are very far along. I thought, you know, charisma, because he is friends with his brother. They actually have a really good relationship. So maybe some of that has rubbed off on Joel a little bit, like, you know, that Eric is so charismatic and outgoing and all of that. And so maybe he got a little bit of an influence from his older brother in that. The handiness, I figured he seems also like the type of guy who would just sort of tinker with things. Like, I mean, I remember some of the guys in my classes in school growing up, and they would just have like rubber bands and protractors and note cards, and they would just like make things out of them in class, and I was like, that's very strange. I don't understand what you guys are doing, but cool. So when I say handiness, it's not like useful handiness. It's more like I'm bored and I want to make something because I don't know what else to do. And then he also has the 2 mischief skill points because, again, he's a little immature in some ways, and, you know, I think being mischievous is sometimes a good way for people who want attention, who don't know how to get attention, to get attention. And it's, you know, kind of a negative way of going about it, obviously, but, you know, it works. It gets the job done. Like, if you're trying to get attention from somebody and, you know, you swap out their shampoo with hair dye or something, you're going to get attention from them, and it's not going to be very good. So this is the Romilly family. I'm very happy with how they turned out. So in my own, like, off-camera games, I'm always like, I feel like I don't have enough guys ever in my games, because I personally tend to play female Sims more frequently, but then the problem comes up with that then a lot of times I don't like a lot of the pre-made guys from EA. Like, there are a couple that I'm like, oh, okay, you'll work out. But a lot of them are, like, married, or they're Akira Kibo, and he's, like, permanently single. So I thought it was good to, like, bring in some more dudes into the game. So you can download the Romilly Brothers right now on the Sims 4 gallery. You can search for them using the username Mrs. Tomato 1018, or using the hashtag Mrs. Tomato 1018, or you can use the hashtag FillTheWorldCAS. Or you can just use the link down below. There are many options. So anyways, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, you can do so down below. I put out a new video every day, Monday through Friday. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!